Welcome again to Biology Made Easy. What do we have for today? Yes, today we are going to look at the fungus kingdom. The objectives. Let's look at the characteristics of fungi. I want us to explain some terms. The terms are vegetative body, reproductive body, and then spore. These three terms. What is a vegetative body? The vegetative body is simply the body or part of the body that does not reproduce. When we talk about the vegetative body of plants, we are talking about stem, leaves, roots. That's the vegetative body. All right? Then, when we talk about reproductive body, we are talking about the parts that is concerned with reproduction. In plants, we are talking about flowers, we are talking about fruits, we are talking about seeds. That is the reproductive body. Okay, what about a spore? A spore is a cell that is capable of becoming a new organism, individual. So it's a cell capable of growing to become an organism. And not just a cell, the cell has a protective structure, tough protective structure. Then it becomes a spore. The seed of a plant is a spore. So that is a spore. It's a reproductive structure. It's capable of becoming another organism. Let's look at the characteristics of fungi. Fungi are eukaryotic. They have cell wall made up of chitin. They don't have chlorophyll. The vegetative body is called mycelium, which is made up of hyphae. The mycelium is a mass of branching hyphae. I cultured this bread. After 3 days, hyphae started appearing. And these white threads you see are hyphae. They grew on the bread. And what the white mass that you see is not it's not just one mycelium. It may be many mycelia. Let us look at the structure of a hypha. And the hypha is just a cell and has a cell wall made up chitin. The cell wall is not cellulose, chitin, so it's a carbohydrate. And it has a cell membrane because it's a cell. It has cytoplasm and usually large vacuoles. It has mitochondrion and all the cell organelles. And then it has plenty of nuclei. So you see, one nucleus, so nuclei. And they also have glycogen granules. Remember, they don't have chlorophyll to photosynthesize. So they don't have starch granules that plants have. They rather have glycogen granules. So this is a hypha, and the mycelium you see there is made up of plenty hypha. And the hyphae, there are two types of hyphae. One type of hyphae does not have any cross walls, so it's aseptate hypha. And another type of hyphae have cross walls, and they are septate hypha. They have cross walls. You see the cross wall? And if you have cross wall, remember these cross walls, substances can flow from one cell to another. Like plant cells, I have one plant cell here, I have another plant cell here. Just a small deviation, I have these plant cells. Here's one plant cell, there's one. This cell wall, all right, have gaps. The gap is called plasmodesma. Plasmodesma. This is about plant, and this gap, the cytoplasm in the cells, it has small cytoplasmic strands from one cell to another. That's the gap. The cytoplasm strands flow through. So plant cells, the cells, there are interconnections through the plasmodesmata, plenty. So hyphae that are septate that have cross walls, there will be connections from cell to cell. Very neat. Now, so there are some fungi that the hyphae are aseptate, and there are some fungi that the hyphae are septate. So that is the mycelium. What about the reproductive structure? Spores. Now, you see the bread that I cultured? You see the white bit is hyphae, but you see the red and black and yellow bits? All those are spores. The spores of fungi have colors. The hyphae, no chlorophyll, so they are white, but the spores have colors, and the spores are characteristic of the fungi. So fungi have some characteristics. That's about the spores of fungi. Now let us look at the types of fungi, the phyla of fungi. We have Phylum Zygomycota, Zygomyces. We have Phylum Basidiomycota, Basidiomyces. Phylum Ascomycota, Ascomyces. And then Phylum Oomycota, that's Oomycetes. The Oomycetes were formerly placed under Protostis, but now under fungi. Yes, so we want to look at the Zygomyces. The Zygomycota, examples are bread mold, that's Rhizopus, the dung mold, Mucor. These are pin molds. You see, they are very tiny hyphae. See, and they are aseptic hyphae. You see, their reproductive structures are black sporangia. Okay, black in color, sporangia containing spores. Sexual reproduction, they produce zygospores. We will look at these in detail in our next lesson on fungi. Now let's look at the Phylum Basidiomycota, Basidiomyces. These are the fungi that have septate hyphae. They are large ones. Example, you have the mushroom or gill fungus, bracket or shelf fungus. These are parasites, and you have puffballs. The parts we are seeing now, the cup, the shelf, the balls, these are all the reproductive structures. Much of the fungi is in the substrate, in the soil, in the wood, all right? Much of it, the greater percentage of it. So what we see up there are the reproductive structures, the cup, the pilus. These reproductive structures, the cup, you see the gills. These are where the spores are formed and the spores are released from the gills. And so the mushroom that have this long stipe is to hold the cup high up in the air so that when the spores are released, they can be carried by the air or the wind. Very neat. Then the bracket or shelf fungus, you see that the cup is quite low. It doesn't have a stipe. So when the spores are released, they fall down. So other shells are formed below. New shells are formed below. Then look at the puffball. It can burst open and to release the spores. Good. Then there are tiny forms of the Basidiomycota. The tiny forms, you have smart fungus. This one is a parasite. See, the black spoiled the maize greens. So now let's look at the next, the Ascomyces. This group of fungi, there are tiny microscopic forms. The yeast, then we have the Penicillium. The Penicillium grows on rotten fruit. For instance, bread, orange. It also grows on other places, damp, moist, leather, shoes, books. And you see that Penicillium has a lot of economic importance, right? We'll talk about it. Then under Ascomyces, you have plenty of edible forms. Delicacies, morels are in this group. Morels are so precious that they are cultivated even on large scales. Ascomyces, we have dangerous types, very, very dangerous, poisonous types, right? And these deadly dangerous types can be recognized because they have escaped. Then still under Ascomyces, we have the parasitic types. Example is tinea, all right? Look at ringworm on the scalp and then atlas foot. Now let's look at the importance of fungi, looking at the Phylum Zygomycota, Basidiomycota, Ascomycota, their importance. In importance, you have beneficial aspects. One, they give food, mushroom and morels, for instance. Then two, industrial use. We have yeast used in wineries, beer making, bread making. Yeast gives a lot of vitamin B, so we can have yeast tablets. Then three, we have the importance in medicine. For instance, antibiotics are produced from penicillium. We have their use in technology, in genetic engineering. Okay, then the harmful aspects. One is that they decay food, they spoil food. For instance, aspergillus can produce aflatoxins, which have cancer-causing substances. All right, look at these peanuts. It has these fungi that are very dangerous. Look at the garlic, the black soot is fungi. All right, that I found. I also saw this black soot from fungi that is in cassava that is being dried for food, kunkunte, right? So these drying food, keeping food must be watched carefully so that fungi does not grow on the food to cause cancer. Then another harmful effects of these fungi is dry rot fungus like bracket or shelf fungus. They decay wood in buildings. Then diseases to animals, tinea causes ringworm, atlas foot. You have also candidiasis or thrush caused by Candida albicans. Candida albicans is yeast-like fungus, all right? And these fungi are normally in the mouth, in the gut, in the vagina, but they don't cause trouble. But when the resistance of the body goes low, then they can grow in large numbers and cause diseases. Then you can have diseases to plants, smuts on cereals, for instance. There's also ecological importance of fungi that will give us assignment. So while we are here, let's quickly look at the Phylum Oomycota or Oomycetes. These ones are also known as slime molds and water molds. Oomycetes and the fungi we have described already, they all have similar characteristics, but Oomycetes are slightly different. Let's look at the differences between Oomycetes and the fungi we talked about, the Zygomycetes, Basidiomycetes, and Ascomycetes. Let's look at the similarities. They both have hyphae, they both produce spores. Differences: Oomycetes have cell walls that have cellulose. Fungi have cell walls that have chitin in their walls. And then the spores of Oomycetes have flagella and they can swim. The spores of fungi do not have flagella, they do not swim. Additionally, slime molds have animal-like features. Right? They feed like amoeba, engulfing food. Alright? That's phagocytosis. And then also, they reproduce by producing cells that look like sperms and eggs. Alright? Now, the Oomycetes are very, very important because they cause a lot of diseases, serious diseases and infections to plants and animals. They spoil potatoes, grapes, right? Attack aquarium fish. They cause a lot of sicknesses to seedlings of cabbage, especially when the seedlings are crowded together. They cause downy mildews, destroying leaves of wheat, attacking so many other plants. Alright? Phytophthora, which is also known as a plant destroyer, destroys a lot of pawpaw and cocoa and so many other plants. So the Oomycetes are important. They have a lot of harmful effects. So let us look at the solutions. Assignment 1 asked, explain the properties of yeast that enables yeast to be used in A. Wine industry and B. Baking industry. Well, the solution, when yeast is found or put into a sugary solution, the yeast cells respires without oxygen, right? They go through anaerobic respiration to produce carbon dioxide, alcohol, and energy. This is known as alcoholic fermentation, right? See the definition there. So, when yeast is used in the wine industry to produce beer, it's because of the ability of the yeast to produce alcohol. Then yeast is also used in bread making because when it's added to dough, it produces carbon dioxide, which causes the dough to be light in weight and fluffy. We say it causes the dough to rise, and that is why it is used in the baking industry. Good. The other assignment is to state the ecological importance of fungi. Ecological importance means what is its impact or influence or the part it plays in the ecosystem, the ecology. Alright, what does the fungi do? 1, it decays organic matter, so it breaks down the organic matter into its nutrients. Alright, and so it puts back the nutrients in the organic matter, the organism, back into the environment. So we say it decays organic matter and recycles nutrients. And then also, you see that fungi grows on organic matter. And so when the fungi is growing, the fungi is in close contact with the organism. In roots of some plants, the fungi is found in close association with the roots in such a way that the fungi absorbs nutrients like phosphates for the roots. And then the roots also gives the fungi protection because some of the fungi lives inside the roots, and we call that mycorrhiza. The mycorrhiza is a mutualistic association between the roots of some plants and fungi in the soil. Alright? Then, in some cases too, there is what we called mutualistic association between algae and fungi. It's known as lichens. You see all these structures on the back of the plants? They are lichens. They are really algae and fungi together. They grow on the back of the wood. They are very hardy structures. They help in the conservation of water for the plants. They also are hardy. they allow organisms, tiny organisms, to live inside them, protect them. So lichens are mutualistic association between algae and fungi. Now you have some lichens growing on rocks, and the lichens grow in tiny cracks between rocks, and so they cause the rocks to crack more and form soil. So that is lichens, very tough, hardy organisms. Alright? Then fungi respires to produce carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and so fungi assist to maintain the carbon dioxide oxygen balance in the atmosphere. There are a lot of parasitic fungi that cause diseases to plants and animals. Yes, so we've had a good day in the kingdom fungus. Till we meet in our next lesson, have a good time. Bye-bye.